You can count on Mr. Aneri to produce this amazing counter tutorial. We're going to make a microbit program that can count, which is surprisingly useful for programming. Alright, so let's get into it. We'll make a new project. I'm going to call it Count Game. I'm going to go to Code Options, and I'm going to make a Python-only project because I'm working in Python. Click Create, and then let's do our project. So how does counting work? Well, suppose that I want to count the number of times that the user presses the A button. I need somewhere to keep track of how many times they've pressed it, right? Somewhere to remember how many times they've pressed it so far. So let's make a variable to store that. I'm going to call that variable counter, but the name actually doesn't matter. You could call that number of times that A is pressed, or you can call it duck smooty fooge, whatever. I'm going to call it counter though. It doesn't matter what you call it as long as you're consistent and call it the same thing. So now I have a variable. The variable is 0. What can I do with that? Well, I can print the value of counter. Press play. Ooh, what's this? Show console. There we go. The number is 0. I can add 1 to counter. I can do counter plus equals 1. It was 0. I'll add 1, and now it will be 1. Oh, if I press play, there we go, 1. I can do that a few times. Doot, 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 doot. Counter plus equals 1, counter plus equals 1, counter plus equals 1, counter plus equals 1, and then print counter, counter plus equals 1, and then print counter again. Oopsie, not printer. When I say print, it'll print to the console. So start at 0. You might want to have a guess as to what this will do. What do you think it'll do? What do you think this program will print? It's got 2 print statements. It prints 4 and 5. Why is that? Well, starts at 0, add 1, 2, 3, so now it's 4. So print 4, and then add 1, and then print the counter, so it'll be 5. At this point, right at this line here, counter is 5. Anyway, we actually want to count the number of times we press A. So let's delete all of that. We want input to run code on button pressed. So we can drag that in here. So on button pressed, when button A is pressed, we want to run this function. Interestingly, it doesn't actually matter what you call that function, as long as you're consistent. But I may as well leave the default name because the default name is sensible, right? This function is called on button pressed A because it runs when you press the A button. When I press the A button, I want to add 1 to counter. Just to be clear, it's going to be confused here. Wait, what? What's happening? This counter refers to this one at the top. It's the same variable. So if you're inside a function and you want to refer to a variable that's outside a function and change it, then you may need to say global space and then the name of that variable. And then it will be happy. So now if I press A a few times, it will increase A. Although it's not really clear that this function is running. So let's put a print counter here. This will do 2 things. Number 1, it'll make it clear that this code is actually working, that it's running this code. And number 2, I get to see what is inside the variable. Okay, I haven't pressed A yet, so it hasn't done this print code. But if I press A, aha, now it's done a print. And if I press it again, A is going up and up and up. Excellent. Just to make this a little bit more interesting, maybe like a game, I suppose, let's make it so that when you get to 10, it's game over and shows a skull. So to do that, we're going to need to make a loop. I guess one way to do it is to make a loop. that can see what with counter is bigger than 10. So I'm going to go basic and run code forever. So this is, there we go, making an on forever function. This function will just run over and over and over and over and over and over again. Just to check that, maybe I'll print, I am running, and press play. Go to the console. So that keeps happening over and over and over again, you know, hundreds and hundreds of times. Good. And then in here, let's see if I can print counter in here. And then, you know, test it. So I should find that it starts printing things as soon as the program starts. Because when it starts this on forever loop, which happens very, very, very frequently. Good. Okay. Now, I want to check if it's less than 10. And if the counter is less than 10, then what should we do? Let's plot a bar graph. Plot a bar graph of the counter. This first thing here is the value, and the second thing is the maximum for this value. Let's say the maximum is 10. Cool. That's exciting. Nice. Okay. But what if it's not less than 10? What if it's bigger? If it's less than 10, then run this code. Otherwise, run this code. Maybe I might show a skull icon. Show icon. Icon names dot meh. Meh. That is a good name. Skull. There we go. So this if statement, if this is true, if it's less than 10, then plot a bar graph. But if it's not less than 10, so else or otherwise, show a skull. So let's have a look. Currently, maybe I'll even show the console. It's 0, less than 10. Good. Yeah. Good. Good, good, good. Still less than 10. Still running this thing here. Oh, I reset it. My mistake. Good, 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 good. And then as soon as it gets to 10, bam! It's 10. It's not less than 10 anymore. So it shows the skull. Hey, what a fun little game. You can have a little race with your friends. I hope you found this helpful for making a counter in Python. All right, have fun with it. See you all next time. Bye, everyone.